You're listening to the voice of IWA Flip here on InterFed Radio. Welcome to a special edition of Living Nightmare After Hour. With me in studio, Dennis Mooney. Dennis, welcome.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh man, it's a pleasure to get managers on, Dennis, and you're one of those that we've been trying to get you on for a while, but we had some technical difficulties, and I said I'm glad we can hear you loud and clear this time.
Technical difficulties, aka my phone was screwed up. I have a Bluetooth now. I
Awesome.
got a Bluetooth today, so should be okay.
Perfect. Now, I mean, your characters have be, went from the highlight of the end of last year, Dennis, and the dragons went through an early year metamorphosis. Went towards the dark side, and now are full blown Sith.
Yes.
Nice. You want to go ahead and elaborate on that so people can hear your side and like I said, you're open airwaves here, Dennis. Like I said, whatever you want to reveal, whatever you want to, let the Living Nightmare fans know, just so they see where we're going with this direction. Because I'm loving it.
Okay. After Head in the Box, after the death of Reverend Boswell, being that Reverend Boswell was based on, religious leaders, pastors and whatnot, I decided to shift the dragons. Well, the initial plan anyway was to turn them into devil worshippers, basically. They were going to be known as Lucifer's luchadors. I trash talked that for maybe about 2 cycles. And I was Googling verses from the Satanic Bible and sending in, really disturbing pictures of like goat heads and upside down crosses and 666 and whatnot.
And
And
and scaring half of the Living Nightmare League, which is supposed to be the scariest league in the association.
it was extremely dark, even for LNL standards. And when I was forwarding them to Kimberly, see, I just a quick, if I could back up a bit, I didn't know the IWA allowed attachments like for email. And I said to Kimberly, hey, do you guys accept attachments? She's like, oh, well, we'll take it from you because we know you, but from someone we don't know, we wouldn't. So I started sending in the upside down crosses, the goat heads, and the bleeding 666s and whatnot. And I said to Kimberly as I was sending a few in, I said, this isn't really me. This is just, for the character, for the storyline, for the gimmick. This isn't me as a person. I love kittens and puppies. And she emailed back saying, oh, well, that's the beauty of the IWA. You could be, whatever you want to be. And when I did some soul searching on it, well, not too deep and whatnot, I was conflicted because I couldn't devote myself wholeheartedly towards that gimmick. When I do something, be it work related, fun related, school related, I go full throttle. I jump fully into the fire.
as
If
uh,
I
as the saying goes, you sell out.
I I sell for all it's worth. If
Definitely.
if I were an actor, I would definitely be a method actor because that's how I am. That's my personality. And on Facebook, there was a lot of IWA, pages on Facebook, and I'll mention his name. Randall Angel told me he was a really big fan of the original Sith, and he always wanted to know if I was going to do another one. And I said, no, they're retired. I've done that route. I'm going to explore other routes. And when I sat back and thought about it, I know Star Wars like the back of my hand because I've grown up with it. I can remember when I was 4 years old seeing episode 4. And I figured Star Wars I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about wrestling. So it was the only logical thing for me to do. And so I gave them each the Darth name, and I gave them all Japanese names. And the reason why I went that way is because I'll say it, I love my country. It's my government that I'm ashamed of, but I do love America. But right now, in terms of professional wrestling, Japanese wrestling is superior to American wrestling. And it has been for some time. So just to give Japanese wrestling the nod, I named all my characters Japanese names.
Nice. Now, for the audience listening, the names that you went with were
Darth Akuma. Akuma means demon. Darth Jigoku. Jigoku means hell. And with the original Sith, I was actually thinking about adding a sixth one, and I was going to name him Darth Jigoku and make him Japanese. But I had the 5 of them, and I really couldn't figure out where he would fit in terms of style. So I left them out. But so now he's with the new Sith.
nice.
Darth,
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but we mentioned previous Sith were in what association or what league?
previous Sith were in the NSL. It was Noble Savage League. I don't think they call that league now. I think they may have changed the wording of it. I don't know. They were in that league from 2000. It was 2007
Nice.
to 2017, I believe. Yeah, 2017.
Oh, wow, nice.
And
Nice.
during that run, I had my most successful run in the game. I had, well, I guess you consider 5 diamond champions because no, 1, 2, 3, 4 diamond champions. I'm counting Darth Thanatos, who won the world title, also as a diamond champion because he had to get to the world title. I
Nice.
had a national champion. I had 2 King of the Rings back to back, and Darth Thanatos, when he won the world title, was also King of the Ring.
Nice. World
And
title and King of the Ring, the same
King of the
cycle.
Ring in the same cycle.
Nice.
That has happened before, but yeah, he was one to do it. And IWA US Tag Team Champions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, this game definitely like I said, we enjoy it, and I know the fans listening, they share your joy also with those titles, man. Because anyone that hasn't won one knows that that's what they're shooting for, and when you finally get one, it's awesome.
I, there's a funny story. A couple days ago in the IWA Classic Man Cave, that page, I
Uh-huh.
don't know if I I posted, this was in the early 2000s. Back then, they the game gave you a certificate of achievement if you won
Nice.
a federation title. And I actually won one with my wrestler, the Hunter. This was back in probably early 2001.
Nice.
And so I get the certificate, and I'm all, stoked. And I framed it, and I had it hanging up on my wall. And I found it a couple days ago. It was still in the frame. So I took a picture of it and I posted it. And uh, Dak Garagus, am I saying his last name correctly?
I think so, yeah. Zach
He,
Dargis himself.
yeah, he replied and said, "Please tell me you didn't frame that." And I said, and he said, because if you did, I'm going to have a laugh all day. And I said, "Yeah, I framed it. Go ahead. Yeah, you can laugh."
Laugh your heart out, laugh your heart out.
Because the truth was, I never thought I'd get, another title. So, I was going to bask in this one because I didn't have many wrestlers and I rarely hit for anything. So,
You're like, I'm gonna,
so
yeah. You're like, definitely
yeah,
gonna keep this one.
yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and Dennis, I mean, I think we've talked, and we talked right before we came on air, how, the different styles that people play this game. Because, now that I've been interviewing and got my chance to talk to different people, I mean, this game is played in so many different ways. I mean, some people, like I was telling you, like the trash talk. Some people like, they just like the tournaments. They like going from cash tournament to cash tournament. Trying to see, what the competition's like throughout the IWA. And
Right,
and then you got people that are, they're playing the at large game. They're going to as many leagues that they can, fit themselves into the top 10 to try and win, their shot at world or their shot at that US championship. So, and there's some people that just play the tag series. They want to just score in the tag game. So they're spread out throughout the quote unquote IWA dead leagues, or the, at large leagues, or whatever you want to call them. And like I said, everybody plays this game in so many ways. So of course there's going to be a critic for any other way that someone else is playing it. So
I, I, I actually didn't mind it. I actually took it as a badge of honor because you're not really part of the fraternity until Zach insults you. So it was cool. It was
nice.
cool. Back,
You're like, join the club, join the club.
yeah, it's a badge of honor. Just real quick, in terms of like celebrating victories and whatnot. I started when I was 15, and it was in an old league called the Boston Crab League. In the third cycle, because the first two cycles were horrible for my wrestler. He won the TV championship. I don't know how, but he did it. And I'm 15 years old, and when I saw the bulletin when it came in the mail, I was going around telling everybody. Like, I had a huge smile on my face. I was walking like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. I'm manager of the TV champion in the Boston Crab League, and
Nice.
they would look at me like, what, you know.
Ah,
But
nice.
I was 15. I was stupid. So
Oh no, I mean, I think everybody, and go ahead and leave a comment. If I mean, I think most of us, whenever we got our bulletins, if you made that front page, you were looking for the first highlighter you could find to make sure you highlighted your name on there.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh man, yeah, those IWA bulletin memories, man. But in getting back to this Living Nightmare League that we're playing in right now, Dennis, I mean, we mentioned the different play styles, the different, leagues that are out there, whether you're playing in you know, in a limit league or not, whether you enjoy trash talk or not, like I said, there is a way to play this game, then a way to have fun, so that you know, so that you can keep your keep your interest. And I think the pace that the Living Nightmare League is running at is perfect for those looking for longer, slow burning angles, because we had mentioned how some IWA leagues run, they run pay-per-views every cycle because that's the style that those managers within those leagues want to run it. And it doesn't fit everybody's trash talk style because not everybody wants a pay-per-view every cycle because we want to build up some kind of tension.
Right. For example, the Boswell angle last year, that went on from February through December.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. I think the managers that we have in the Living Nightmare League, I mean, shout out to Michael Myers and Jason's manager. Shout out to the League of Extraordinary Evil right there. Shout out to, of course, Catfish and Company. And shout out to, Dr. Frankenstein and the Patients, because, those kind of managers like that kind of a brew. They're not so, quick in and out of angles. They're going to give you something to work with, something to build on. And, it's not that any of the other leagues, or not that there's anything wrong with any of the other leagues. I think it's just a matter of, finding the pace that you're comfortable with and finding the league that you can, showcase your work the most in.
Right. The LNL is primarily built around telling stories. Horror stories, maybe, but stories nonetheless.
Now, speaking of the one that we're wrapped in right now, because shout out to you and to Catfish, because when two managers kind of piggyback off of each other the way you guys do, it's amazing. I mean, here you are one cycle, and you collapse the freaking stadium on him. Just collapse the arena. Collapse the arena on him
because it was the roof.
Oh, and man!
Believe it or not, after that appeared in the bulletin, I messaged Seth and I said, "Hey, you don't think I went over the line with that trash talk, did you?" And Seth was like, "No."
Right.
Why the hell would you think that?
And
to be honest, I wanted to go further, not necessarily with Catfish, but with other wrestlers, and use lightsabers to cut off body parts and whatnot. But I don't know where the line between acceptable and extreme is.
Right, and I think I mean, obviously, I mean, you were witness to the Fox woman Santana angle and her well, yeah, and
right. Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. But I think there's an open, obviously, as long as it stays within the, in a story between the two characters, I think it's all or you can go for it.
Right.
But my fascination behind it, Dennis, was the following cycle. Because I'm opening it up, and I, like I said, I'm doing my reading, and then all of a sudden I see what I assume was Catfish's rebuttal, because that was him, right? That wasn't, or did you write that as well?
Catfish's rebuttal? No.
Oh, or did you miss it?
I probably did, because
this is the one where he basically brings everybody from the Living Nightmare League to dig through the rubble looking for Catfish buried under the arena.
Okay.
So
so it's like, oh well, did he survive or not? Okay, that's cool.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I'll leave it at that, because there's little cliffhangers, within it. But yeah, I mean, when I saw it, piggyback from one angle to the next, or from one bulletin to the next, and it being the same story arc, I was like, oh, you know what, we got a continuation, and now it's from a different point of
Perspective.
view. Yeah,
Right.
and I just, it just makes that whole arc, just come to life, and I'm like, this is awesome, because like you said, you get left with different cliffhangers, and you get left with different. Okay, now I want to see what happens next. Now, not like you're saying, okay, how much further do the Sith go, or or does Catfish avenge himself some way through his disciples,
Oh, he probably will. Catfish is a master at that. The reason why I did the whole roof caving in on everybody idea, I wanted to establish the Sith as evil as opposed to the dragons who were primarily the inspiration for them as characters. The dragons I'm talking about was Andy Kaufman.
Okay.
Are you familiar with him?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And they were basically loudmouths that you just wanted to strangle and punch out. That's where the inspiration came for them. But for the Sith, they're evil because they're Sith. So
Right.
I,
And
I had to establish themselves as evil.
and I think with I caught on at the end of last year, and I think just the way they were deceived, the way they were led on, I think it continues that story arc well enough where you can see how they would lean towards a certain way or the other, and after losing trust in someone that was supposed to be the word of God, and the
Right,
righteous, and blah blah blah. And now, so you could see that way, that art work. So I
right,
enjoy it, brother. I'm really having, like I told Commissioner Anderson, I go, you know what? I really enjoy the way the pace this league works, because in a lot of cases, Dennis, I mean, because I'm in so many different leagues that run at different paces, I
right,
sometimes I sometimes forget. I get, I'm like, oh, dude, did I forget about Dead by Dawn? He's all like, no, dude, relax. It's coming next cycle. I'm like, oh, all right, cool, cool, cool. I can still, add a little piece to my story arc right before Dead by Dawn in this one. And, the LNL doesn't move as fast as other leagues, because the results are going to be tallied up this cycle, but the
right.
matches the matches aren't going to be written about and talked about until
Until the
next
next,
cycle.
right.
Yeah,
The LNL, to use the analogy, is the tortoise, whereas many other leagues are the hare.
right. And I think at that in terms of a speed analysis, that's I think a perfect analysis of it. And I think the one thing we were talking about earlier as well was the aspect of the structure of the league, and how a certain commissioner that brings his taste or his flavor, or or just his structure, and his respect for uh whether it's respect for fair play or respect for the game itself,
Right,
also adds a certain level of prestige to the league, because Commissioner Anderson puts in work. And I think we mentioned in terms of the commissioner titles there, because they've been around for such a long time, and they're
right,
contested, through trash talk, trash talking managers that bring those belts to life. And again, I like giving them their credit, because Michael Myers and Jason's manager does a great job of that. And shout out, because that's one of those things that as a commissioner, as someone playing the game in this style, I got to do that more often. And like I said, I just you know I enjoy following angles like that bring that into into perspective. And I know uh, former Dragon Amarillo, now Darth Akuma,
Akuma. Yes.
is the current
Demon.
underworld champion, right?
Right.
Nice.
Now, the reason why I haven't brought the titles up yet is because they're Sith and they could care less about titles. I will do it in my upcoming Trash Talk. Incidentally, do you know who the manager is of Jason and Michael Myers?
I do not know. Yeah,
Okay, well,
and shout out because like I said, I know I know some managers like to stay anonymous and some managers like to come out and let it be known. So, but I know the Living Nightmare League because it's not on Facebook. Everyone's kind of still semi in the shadows. So
right.
I think that adds a little kind of it adds a different factor to the game. I think Scott and I were talking about how uh, different leagues have to have different just for him who commissions the leagues, he has to have different flavor in each of the leagues just to
Right.
be able to balance out. And I think the Living Nightmare League and its anonymous aspect, definitely adds that uncertainty factor within it. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of fun with the Living Nightmare League. We got a Dead by Dawn coming up, and who do you have scheduled on Dead by Dawn, Dennis?
The Sith are in an 8-man elimination Survivor Series type match.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of who we're up against. I know Wolfman Joe. I want to say Foxwoman, but I don't. My ADD is
Let
getting the
me
best of me.
as I'm scrolling down, I know I have it here.
Incidentally, if the manager of Jason or Michael Myers is listening, just reach out to us on Facebook just so we know who you are, just so we can bounce ideas off of you, just in case. That'd be great.
Oh, you know what? I should have known this one. They're going up against their newly nicknamed creature feature.
Ah,
Santana, yeah, Foxwoman, RoboCat, and Squeaky, who are all disciples of Catfish.
okay. And is Wolfman Joe in there as well?
Yeah, Foxwoman Santana, Wolfman Joe,
Okay.
RoboCat, and Squeaky against the four Sith Lords.
I know in the LNL interview with Commissioner Anderson, you guys talked about which match would go first. I wouldn't mind having the 8-man first or second from a kayfabe perspective of if it's done early, then Darth Akuma can rest for his Underworld title match, which is
Nice.
probably going to be later on in the card. I have no problem with that, but it's up to him.
Yeah, no, I think I think not only that, but in terms of getting the crowds to their seat, when you got an eight man matchup like that, I think that'll get the
Right,
crowd to their seat right away. It's like we got to be there on time, here on time.
right. Yeah, that but whatever he wants to do is fine.
Oh yeah, no. Now, your thoughts on the return of the Pale Man?
Oh, I love the Pale Man. I was sad to see him go because when we were the Dragons, it was so funny to read his comments because he absolutely hated us.
Nice,
It
nice.
was funny. I was like, "Oh, thank God, the Pale Man's back."
Ah, well, you know what? That's what happens when you reach into the darkness of the dark side of the fourth. So somehow, some way, he had to come back.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, nice. Now,
I want. Can I just mention one thing?
oh sure.
You guys
No,
also talked about when Commissioner Anderson said, "In my trash talk, cries and screams are music to our ears." That came from the Transformers of the profile of Soundwave He was the Decepticon communicator. He transformed into the. He was a cassette tape.
Okay, yeah.
And that was his quote on the back of his profile. So that's where I
Nice.
got that from. And the other one was pain creating power and power creating pain. What that meant was whatever you do to the Sith, whether you attack us, whether you chop off our heads, our arms, our balls, we'll just come back. And so the more pain you inflict on us, the more powerful we become. It's the dark side. So it's a never-ending vicious cycle.
Oh yeah, this I mean, like I said, I mean this is one of those leagues that like I said, the supernatural, the dark, and for anybody that likes playing a character, this is one of those
Right,
leagues that you can have some major fun in, man. I mean, uh, the commissioner's structure is awesome. I mean, I know we got the underworld title, we got the anarchy
right,
and the colossus titles, all of which
right,
have their own unique way of contesting for them.
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a nice thing to see, to see structure within a league and to allow it to revolve around the trash talk, the way the Living Nightmare League does. And now you had mentioned his championship match. He's going to be fighting against Patient
Oh God,
X.
yes, Patient X.
For a
And
minute there, I thought it was going to be against Frankenstein. I'm like, my goodness.
no,
But
no,
X got the better of him the last cycle, so that was nice.
yeah. Um, Truthfully, I don't expect to win because Seth's wrestlers always hit very high every cycle. I didn't expect to win the last time against one of the patients at uh, Head in a Box, so maybe I'll get lucky. I
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean, you struck recently because didn't Jigoku beat Frankenstein for the Colossal?
Yes, and that, but this past cycle, Frankenstein beat Jigoku.
Oh, got him back.
So he won it back. Although I
Now,
was happy, although I was happy because Jigoku got a star. So if one of my wrestlers just gets a star, just every cycle, I'd be happy with that. I'd like to get Darth Akari a star because he's the only one that doesn't have one. And for some odd reason, I keep screwing up his strategies very badly. He had a horrible strategy total last cycle. I don't even want to mention it because it's so embarrassing.
now, now,
Uh,
now,
Go
now.
ahead.
So for our fans that are listening, I know this isn't the LNL commissioner uh, report, but I mean, the nice thing about the Colossal title is as as long as uh, as long as you're trash talking and
Right,
not necessarily mentioning the title, but as long as you're a trash talker, you can contest for
right,
that title.
right. And you get 5 free matches, so that's something.
Yeah, little
Literally,
perks, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
no,
I
and
start because I started myself on a new budget, so I cut down on a lot of matches. So the 5 free extra ones were good.
oh yeah, it definitely helps, brother. Yeah, no, I mean, now in terms of I mean, obviously, we're working this angle with Catfish Rob right now and the Sith, but the pay-per-views coming up. Uh, we don't even know if Catfish is okay at this point in time right now, or if he's even going to be able to make that pay-per-view from the cliffhangers that we got left with.
I, I Catfish is very resilient. I do believe we'll see him
Oh,
during the pay-per-view. Who knows? He may even do a run-in during the 8-man tag or in the underworld title match.
Nice.
Catfish,
Yeah.
catfish, you never know. I listened to your interview with him, and I found him very endearing. I, I I couldn't have any ill will towards him because of like a trash talk or anything like that. He was so there was just something about him that was just very endearing.
Yeah. No, he's. I mean, off. What do they call it? Out of character. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
got mad love and respect for Rob and for everybody that we come in contact here in the IWA because like I said, the more you get to know people and
yeah,
and reach out, I mean, we can definitely take angles. Like I told Rob the other day, I go, Rob, because I know you, I know you can't get up, you won't get upset because I'm going to run it by you and we can take our angles to these extremes and just have a laugh at them because we're and I consider it working, Dennis. I like to tell people it's like, hey, I consider the conversations that we have off air working. We're working this angle so that we can present it, and it's going to be more, have more continuity behind it, be a better
right,
show altogether.
right.
Yeah, and I think that in itself is part of the fun that I enjoy of it is just getting everybody on the same page, getting everybody so that the product that we're putting together, when somebody else picks it up, is going to make somewhat make sense to an outsider looking at bulletin number 5507 or whatever we're at right now for the LNL.
52, I believe. Yeah, 52.
Oh
It's
man, I
coming out
gave I gave
coming out this
myself an extra
fall.
500 with a living nightmare, huh?
Yeah. The the
uh,
thing about see in the social media age with messaging and Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, it's easier to communicate with managers to play off angles, whereas in the early 90s, late 80s, you basically were just doing it on your own because managers were so out of contact with each other. And if they were in contact, they would do the pen pal policy where you would ask them to forward a letter to a certain manager.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the game. I mean, and it was so hit and miss, Dennis. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people out there where you had no idea who was in what league back in the day. You got lucky if
Right,
you went to a league, and you got lucky if someone trash talked back to you. Now,
right,
shout out to those managers that hunted, because I know some managers, if they didn't see anything there, they transferred out or they hunted to better leagues. I guess you can say.
right, right.
Shout out to the dungeon. Because I remember I
Oh
guess
yeah,
here I remember hearing people meeting up there and you know I guess trying to bring the community together in some sense, but
right.
I'm definitely enjoying this what I consider the new era of the IWA and the social media side where you know we've dropped the anonymous part and we've it's kind of almost like moving it into the locker room and we're talking about the angle. Not everything has to be revealed. I'm not gonna give away every detail when I'm talking to you, but I'm gonna give you a hint as to, hey, you know what? By the way, I'm gonna, you're going down this cycle. I'm gonna beat you up. I'm not gonna tell you how I'm gonna beat you up. To leave that for your ears and your eyes to read.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
definitely a fun time here in the IWA.
Yeah. The more cohesion you have among managers, the better.
Yeah, and I think we got a nice cohesive group here in the Living Nightmare League. I think if we can get a couple more people, involved in some of these bigger angles. I mean, obviously, uh, the pace. A lot of people, hey, it's a lot slower. Don't expect a pay per view every other cycle. That's not the way it works. Don't be afraid to build an angle. Don't be afraid to, you know, don't be afraid to work with what's out there because there is a lot of trash talk in the Living Nightmare League that either goes unresponded to, and I'm guilty of that. These last couple of cycles, I got to go back and and respond to some of these attacks. Poor Bigfoot's been getting mauled and mashed throughout the whole league, and I haven't responded. So I'm guilty of it at times. So like I said, I'll make sure I respond to bring some more heat, some more heat.
A manager needs to have delayed gratification with the LNL. If you're into a want it, I want it now, this isn't the league for you.
You know what? I like that. I like that use of the delayed gratification. Definitely fits the
because
living
it is.
nightmare. It is, yeah. It's
It is.
definitely like I said. I mean, like you mentioned, the February to December build up for Head in the Box made Head in the
Right.
Box just amazing.
And I'm pretty sure I can pull off the angle again where everybody's against the Sith. I think I started it anyway. I may push it in that direction. I don't know. I may just single out a few characters to work with, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer to summer, so like I said, I think this Dead by Dawn is going to catapult us into my favorite time in the Living Nightmare League, into fall. And not that I
Oh
want
yeah,
to not that I want to speed through summer, but I
right.
think
Well,
I think the angles that we build in summer are going to escalate at in the fall time because we got a lot going.
right. October, that's our month. Oc- the October, and anytime we hit a quarter number like 50, 75, 100,
Nice, yeah, the anniversaries.
my budget goes out the window for that. So if seriously, so if it happens where October and an anniversary of a quarter cycle happens in October, then my budget is like totally gone.
You're like
So
you're like let it roll on those, let it roll.
yeah, so
Oh
so
man,
there's that.
oh Dennis, man, Dennis.
Um,
I mean,
I
is
will
there any?
probably, yeah, I will probably start using lightsabers very soon. So if some people get a limb chopped off, then you know why it's with a lightsaber.
Nice.
I started collecting them. I started collecting. There are various like websites that have like lightsabers for sale, and I started
Like
collecting the hilts.
like
Uh,
actual like not obviously not actual lifesavers, but like good replicas, like good like
they're they're they're
heavy replicas.
yeah they're empty hilts for me because I there are those that have the blades attached to them, and they have light ups and sounds and whatnot. I
Okay.
just take the empty blades. I'll message you a few just so you can see pictures.
Nice. Nice. Now, in terms of Dead in Dead by Dawn, is there anything else you want to put on this show right here, Dennis, for Dead by Dawn? Just basically, I think you've already hinted. Watch out for those lightsabers.
Well, actually, not even for Dead by Dawn, just for the next Trash Talk and in the future. Dead by Dawn, hopefully, because it's it, Commissioner Anderson is going to add up all the strategies together. Hopefully, we get just a higher strategy and win.
I'm just putting it out there. If by some kind of luck and luck of the draw we win, Squeaky's gonna somehow yield the lightsaber.
Okay.
Probably cut his own tail off by accident, but he's definitely gonna lift one up. He's definitely gonna lift one up.
That's one more thing I wanted to mention. Whenever commissioner asks me, like, how do you want the write up done? What I will do, and I did this with my matches with Catfish and Foxwoman, particularly because I I was victorious over them. But I had to make them look very powerful. Like for the last man standing match that we had, I had both of them do like Rocky and Apollo did from Rocky 2, where they were both standing up and then Apollo collapses at like 9. And technically, at the time, Dragon Rojo won the match, but he barely won it. And with Dragon Verde, who is Darth Akari, going over Foxwoman, that was a gosh, I think it might have been. I think it was a chain match where we were together with a chain.
Nice.
And we both bled buckets, and it was basically her having the advantage over me the entire match. And the way I got her, I got the victory. He's the MMA guy, so I had him do a choke out with her with the chain, except she didn't tap out. She passed out from the pain. Therefore, she could say, I never tapped out.
Nice.
So if you make your opponent look like Superman, if you win, you beat Superman, and if you lost, well, what the hell do you expect? You lost to Superman. So
Right, right. I think that's good advice for any trash talk manager listening. It
yeah, that's
it
my
it
philosophy.
it does you really injustice uh, to basically to get yourself over every cycle. Like if all you're
Right,
doing is being a bully and beating people up, cycle in, cycle out, like I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, it actually does you an injustice. Like it's actually,
right,
in terms of presenting a character,
right,
it's good to let somebody beat you up. It's good to let let them get over on you, to show that hey, they are a tough opponent. Like I think Commissioner Anderson had mentioned that once on the broadcast as well. Like, yeah, it's like I don't want to be fighting a scrub. I don't want to be fighting somebody that I'm beating up every cycle.
right,
That does me no good. It does my
right.
character no good. It's like I forget what was that one guy's name. Hornswoggle, Hornsnoggle, Horn. Uh,
In the LNL?
no, I think he was like a
Oh,
WW.
oh yeah, Hornswoggle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Like a little one of the little midget guys, and like it does you no good to beat that guy up. Like, what's the point?
Right,
Like
right.
no, man. I mean, go, get beat up by somebody, that's, yeah. I mean,
Formidable.
yeah, right, definitely somebody, somebody that's gonna give you a competition. That's gonna be a good pay per view match. Nobody
Right,
wants to go see Cena versus Hornswoggle. It's like, no.
right. Exactly.
I like it. I like that. I like that piece of advice right there, Dennis. I really do. I think managers, if obviously everybody plays this game in so many different ways, Dennis. Like I said, I just like to get different managers is their take on how they play, their take on. I mean, stuff like that. I think is awesome. It adds to just it adds to wanting to play with and trash talk with a manager of your sort, Dennis, because not everybody does that. Not everybody uh, can take a hit, take a bump. Not everybody can allow a
Right,
manager to get over on them.
right,
With and at the same time making themselves not come out on top, but without totally flushing their character.
right. Without devaluing their character. I
Right.
just want to mention just two quick things, just two other quick things of advice. Number one, protect and sell finishers. Number two, limit false finishes. I think there should be 3 per match, maybe 4 once in a while, but 3 per match. And okay, that's it. That's all.
You know what? I definitely like that because it also, I mean, I think I almost forgot in terms of mentioning it. I mean, I think, quote unquote, I think we had said in terms of like, if you are a commissioner,
Right.
you know, you can't always, what did you call them? Have dusty
All
finishes.
the dusty finish. For those of you not familiar, I'll try to break it down quickly. Heel bumps the ref, so the referee's out. Babyface hits the finishing move on the heel, has him in a pinning predicament or a submission. Second ref runs to the ring, counts the pin or here's the submission, rings the bell, title change, crowds popping. Babyface is, happy. He's won the title finally. And the original ref wakes up, you know, comes to his senses, goes to the ring announcer. They talk briefly. Ring announcer says, well, the winner by disqualification is the babyface, but being that he won by DQ, he wins the match, but not the title. So the champion is still the heel. And normally the crowd boos heavily and will chant bullshit, bullshit. I swear, because I was at an NWA show in the mid 80s, I want to say 86, and that actually happened. I didn't know any of the wrestlers, but I saw that happen. And I remember the crowd was irate and they were chanting bullshit, bullshit. So, yeah, you can't always have dusty finishes. So,
Yeah, no, dusty finishes in the IWA. Limit them. What did we say? I think we said maybe once, twice a year, if that. You know,
right.
because I mean, how many cycles do we get throughout the year? 17?
I have no idea. You have to ask the commissioner. He's the statistician.
Yeah, I think we get about 17. So if you're doing five, you know, dusty finishes a year, that's kind of shady. That's kind of shady.
Right.
Oh yeah.
One, you're familiar with Vince Russo, correct?
Yes.
One of, and you're familiar with Jim Cornette.
Oh
You
yeah,
have
most
to be.
definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
One of Cornette's criticisms of Russo was that he would book a show and let's see, there would be 8 matches. 4 would end in disqualification. And Cornette was like, you can't have that because it gets old and your crowd is going to go cold. And that's what makes Cornette hate Russo, among other things. But
You're like amongst other things.
well, have you ever heard him like go off on Vince Russo? It's it's amusing, but at the same time, you wonder, gee, how you know does he really hate him that much?
Yeah, you know
It,
what? Some. I mean, let's be honest. Some of these, you know, some of these performers, some of them, you know, stay in character so well that it's hard to, you know, it's hard to see them break it. And it's, you know, was that all show or was it, you know, for reals?
no,
Was it
I
just?
well, for Cornette, I don't believe it was for show. Um, he said many times that Russo is the most despised person he's ever that he hates. So
Nice, nice. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I've gone on there a number of times, Dennis. I mean, I am probably the most wrestling illiterate person playing the IWA. I mean, I mean, I watched it I would say a tad bit. You know, obviously, you know, during its 90s, obviously the Hogan, Warrior, Savage days, but never to an extent to consider myself a diehard fan or to I mean, I hear some of the talk that some of the other people that I have on, and they start mentioning like certain certain fond memories that they have of like going to shows, of like being in some of the smaller promotions, live events, and seeing some of these fighters climb the ranks. And it's nice to see how how wrestling inspired different people at different levels, and
Right.
and to have us all in this game, I think just adds to just the diversity that wrestling fans even though we all might have our differences, still find a common way to have fun in this game.
It's a unifying factor.
It really
At
is,
least
yeah.
at least professional wrestling is. I can't say this. I can't speak for sports entertainment because I don't watch it that much. It's a huge disconnect. The old man has lost his mind. He should go. He should go step down, go to the Caribbean, find an island to himself, and just enjoy his days, enjoy the money that he's worked for.
Yeah, let the new blood take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's long overdue.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it's too scripted. The talent have no freedom as compared to the Attitude Era where characters were allowed to ad lib and whatnot. That's one of the reasons why Stone Cold and The Rock got over the way they did, because they were allowed that freedom.
oh yeah, I think that well, I think we can get into more of that. And like I said, I know we can talk for hours, Dennis. But I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
just to end on this note, I mean, I think they're afraid of something as weird as free agency in an association and in wrestling in general. Because I mean,
Well,
could you imagine if wrestling became as big as some of the other sports, and they actually had free agency, and players could kind of I mean,
technically they do when their contracts expire. I mean, once their contract's up, they're free to negotiate with
right. I mean,
with
but how
whatever
many
company they want to.
but how many other companies are as big as WWE? I mean, there's no competition. It's kind of like the pros. It's like, if yeah, you could go play in the Arena Football League, but you know,
Right. Well, there's Japan. If you suit that style, there is Ring of Honor, which pays okay, I suppose, in TNA. But um, a lot of wrestlers now are jumping on this new promotion, AEW, started up by Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and the
nice.
owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. His name escapes me. Apparently, they're trying to negotiate a deal with the Turner networks. I think it's TNT specifically.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
we'll
no,
see.
me personally, I would hope to think that something like the WWE, because it has such a big fan base and has access to pay per view and different networks, I think would still survive if they kind of work their contracts to allow their talent to fight and and promote themselves individually. I think they could still
It,
strive, but
it,
I know they're afraid of it.
there was, I can't think of his name, and it was on HBO, a sports commentator person who called out the WWE because it classifies the wrestlers as independent contractors, but they're not allowed to work dates outside of the WWE schedule. So so it's their way, it's WWE's way of getting around the fact that the wrestlers are employees by saying they're independent contractors, so they don't have to pay them health insurance
Interesting.
and
Yeah.
401ks and whatnot. So
See,
Yeah,
that's all that back behind the scenes stuff that I'm naive
right,
to, brother. But yeah,
right.
like I said, a lot we can definitely pick brains one of these days moving forward. But
Yeah,
all right, Dennis, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. We'll sign this one off, and I said we'll come back. We'll come back the next time, and after Dead by Dawn, see what else we can get into.
all right. Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn,
April
everybody.
30th.
There you
April
go.
30th. 8-man tag, Sith. We're gonna win.
Go get
And
it.
Akuma's gonna retain his underworld title against the patient X.
Watch
Hopefully.
watch watch out, Patient X. All right, guys, you've been listening to Living Nightmare After Hour with myself, IWA Flip, and the one and only Dennis Mooney. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Ciao.